Every whitetail hunter obsesses over one number, feet per second, and it is wrecking more hunts than any missed shot ever could. Because a bow that screams off the string but shakes like a rattlesnake in your hands will blow your cover before that deer ever steps into range. Here is the deal. The fastest bow on paper is usually the worst bow in a tree stand. Honestly, most guys are still buying speed the same way they did 10 years ago, completely ignoring what actually matters once that arrow leaves the rail. Let's be real. Dead quiet, dead accurate, and tunable without ever touching a bow press. That is the new gold standard for 2026. So today we are ranking the 7 flagship compound bows built to put a heavy arrow through a whitetail's vitals without a single wasted ounce of energy. And by the time we hit number 1, you are going to understand exactly why raw speed lost this war a long time ago. Kicking things off at number 7, we have the Bowtech Alliance. This rig is built as the ultimate hybrid platform, giving you the flexibility to hunt tight eastern whitetail woods or stretch it out for western spot and stalk. Available in 30.5 or 33 inches axle to axle, it flings heavy carbon downrange at a highly respectable 338 feet per second. When you drop the string, the bow sits dead as a concrete block in your hand. The caged aluminum riser design actively fights flex, keeping your entire setup incredibly stable when the adrenaline spikes and you need to settle your pin. Under the hood, the crown jewel of this platform is the deadlock cam system. Most hunting bows force you to twist cables or mess with tiny shims in a bow press just to fix your arrow flight. Instead, Bowtech mounts the cams on a threaded axle. By simply loosening a lock screw and turning a tuning screw with a standard Allen wrench, you shift the entire cam left or right along the axle. This perfectly aligns the string path with your arrow rest, giving you perfect bullet hole paper tears right on the tailgate of your truck without ever touching a press. Stepping up the versatility, this rig features their flip disc technology. You can manually swap between a comfort setting with 83% let-off or a performance setting that drops it to 80% for a flatter trajectory. The draw cycle on the comfort mode rolls back smooth as a heavy oak door, dropping gently into the valley so your shoulder does not get ripped forward if you have to hold at full draw in freezing temperatures. But let's be real, it is not completely flawless. The deal breaker for some guys is going to be the grip ergonomics. Bowtech includes their grip lock technology to change the physical angle of the grip, but the actual throat of the grip feels a bit thick and chunky if you have smaller hands, making it much harder to find that consistent torque-free placement. Expect the street price to set you back roughly $1,400 to $1,500. Stepping up the game at number 6, we are looking at a pure speed demon, the PSE Sicario Carbon. This rig pushes the boundaries of raw time to target, generating a blistering 357 feet per second on a 33-inch axle-to-axle frame. Weighing in at just 3.9 pounds, it slings heavy carbon downrange with a flat trajectory that makes pin gapping a thing of the past. If you are hunting skittish whitetails that love to jump the string, this bow gives you a massive mathematical advantage by closing the distance faster than almost anything else in the woods. Under the hood, the engineering focuses on their full-draw stability cam system. Most speed bows with a punishing 5¼ static brace height are incredibly twitchy and unforgiving to shoot. PSE solves this by using a cam profile that actually moves the string angle forward of the grip at full rotation. This creates a longer dynamic brace height, which mechanically stabilizes your aim and fights the natural hand torque caused by such a violently short power stroke. When you execute the shot, the sensory feedback is wild. Traditional aluminum speed bows usually kick like an angry mule and rattle your teeth. But the Sicario uses a continuous monocoque carbon riser that completely absorbs those harsh frequencies. The arrow leaves the rest, and the bow just delivers a polite thump into your palm. The draw cycle itself pulls like a stubborn freight train from start to finish. It demands a lot of shoulder strength. but it stays honest and avoids dropping off a cliff into the valley. Now for the ugly truth. The deal breaker here is the financial barrier and the tuning complexity. If you want to fix cam lean using their EZ220 snap spacers, you absolutely need a bench-mounted bow press and specialized tools. So field tuning is completely off the table. On top of that, the damage to your wallet is brutal. This carbon masterpiece sets you back roughly $1,800 to $2,000, meaning you are paying a massive premium just to cheat the chronograph. Stepping up the game. Now we are getting into serious territory. Number 5 is the Prime Divide series, and this platform is built for guys who want to dial in their exact fit instead of settling for whatever the manufacturer decided was best. Divide comes in 4 different lengths: 31, 33, 35, and 37 inches, plus your choice of a 6-inch or 7-inch brace height. That is a level of personalized geometry most other brands simply do not offer. Under the hood, Prime leans on advanced structure technology, a manufacturing process that bonds a carbon upper riser to an aluminum lower using something called XWELD bonding. That joint holds up to 8,000 pounds of pull, roughly 10 times what it actually needs to survive a shot cycle. Translation: this composite structure boosts overall riser stiffness by over 47%, while shaving nearly half a pound off the weight. Less flex under that massive full draw load means less lateral torque, and less torque means dead straight knock travel every single time you release. Now here is the deal breaker, and this one is a performance quirk worth knowing before you buy. Prime gives you 2 module tracks, standard and performance. The standard track hides the draw weight beautifully. A 70-pound bow feels almost like 55. But switch over to the performance track for that extra 7 to 9 feet per second, and the draw cycle turns noticeably harsher, with a much more abrupt drop into the valley. You cannot have the buttery draw and the bonus speed at the same time on this rig. The damage to your wallet runs around $1,600, which is right in line with the rest of this flagship tier. Now listen, this is solid, but wait until you see the monster sitting at number 1. What Divide does with carbon and aluminum bonding is impressive, but it is not even close to the engineering trick waiting for you at the top of this list. Turning up the heat at number 4, we have the Xpedition NexLite. Look, I know the traditional aluminum fanboys will absolutely hate this pick, so sound off below in the comments if you actually trust a sub 4-pound rig in the backcountry. Available in 30 or 33-inch models, this thing straight up defies physics. The 33-inch version weighs a mind-blowing 3.75 pounds bare bow, making it the ultimate mobile setup for guys hiking miles into rugged public land. The secret to this featherweight build is the proprietary Magnite riser. Most lightweight hunting bows use standard 60-61 aluminum, which forces engineers to shave off structural material, leading to a brittle frame that transfers terrible hand shock. Magnite is a specialized magnesium alloy that is physically lighter than aluminum, but it naturally absorbs high-frequency vibrations. Because of this, you get the holding stability and sight radius of a heavy target bow, but it rides on your pack like a stripped-down youth rig. When you draw it back, the redesigned NXB cam system rolls over smooth as worn leather. They completely eliminated the harsh hump and dump feel of their older models. You settle into a generous valley, and the back wall feels like leaning against a brick house. When your release breaks, the recoil is nothing but a muffled thud. No buzzing, no kicking, just dead silence. Even when slinging a massive 467-grain hunting arrow, it generates a bone-crushing 76 foot-pounds of kinetic energy. But here is the truth. You have to sacrifice something. The deal breaker on the NexLite is the raw velocity deficit compared to the competition. With those heavy arrows, it is only pushing about 271 feet per second. It hits like a wrecking ball, but the arrow trajectory resembles a rainbow. If you misjudge a whitetail by 5 yards in the timber, that arching arrow flight will cost you the animal. If you can handle the math on your yardage, this backcountry ghost sets you back right around $1,599. Entering the elite tier at number 3, we have the Mathews ARC. Available in 30 or 34 inches axle to axle, this rig is an absolute whitetail tack driver. The 30-inch model weighs in at an incredibly light 3.99 pounds bare bow, but still manages to sling heavy carbon downrange at speeds up to 348 feet per second. Mathews aggressively machined and hollowed out the reflex riser using complex internal bridging. This gives you a skeletal frame that is highly maneuverable in tight saddles and brush, but still delivers a massive 89.4 foot-pounds of kinetic energy to ensure optimal terminal performance when you take the shot. Looking at the engine, the magic comes from their SWX2 cam system featuring perimeter weight technology. Instead of a standard machined wheel, Mathews intentionally places heavy metal weights on the extreme outer edge of the cam. Why does that matter? It drastically increases the angular momentum during the rotation cycle. This allows the bow to maintain blistering speeds while the external weight actively absorbs the leftover shock, dropping the noise floor down to a whisper-quiet 64.4 decibels. Drawing this rig back is a highly aggressive, high-energy process. It hits peak weight fast and makes you work for it. But when you finally let that release snap like a dry twig, the bow just sits in your palm like a heavy stone pillar. Absolutely zero buzz or kick. You also get the added benefit of their switch weight modules, letting you instantly change your peak weight from 55 all the way up to 80 pounds without ever replacing the actual limbs. Let's be real though, there is a glaring performance quirk here. The deal breaker is the incredibly short and unforgiving valley. Because it is built to generate maximum kinetic energy, the cam constantly wants to surge forward. If you relax your back tension even a fraction of an inch while waiting on a buck to step into your shooting lane, this bow will violently try to rip your shoulder out of the socket. If you have the aggressive form to keep it pinned against the wall, expect the street price to ring up right around $1,459. Closer to the crown at number 2, we are looking at the Hoyt Alpha AX3. This is a massive course correction from their carbon lineup last year. Tipping the scales at a hefty 4.75 pounds bare bow and stretching 33 5/16 inches axle to axle, this aluminum powerhouse eats heavy carbon for breakfast. It pushes hunting shafts downrange at an advertised 340 feet per second, but actual field tests with a 389 grain arrow clock in a highly realistic 285.6 feet per second. Looking at the engine, Hoyt completely abandoned the one-size-fits-all approach and brought in the HBX Generation 4 cam system. Instead of using a single rotating module to cover every possible draw length, which forces terrible mechanical compromises at the extreme ends of the spectrum, they use draw length specific modules. Why does that matter? It maximizes the mechanical advantage of the cam specifically tailored for your personal reach. This gives you blistering kinetic energy and high velocities without that brutal, shoulder-tearing draw cycle you usually get from high-speed hunting rigs. Drawing this bow back is an absolute dream. It pulls back as smooth as polished glass. Once you hit your anchor point, you are locked into a rock-solid back wall with a massive, incredibly forgiving valley. When your release breaks and you send it downrange, the acoustic signature is practically non-existent, registering at an incredibly quiet 62.2 decibels. The Bridge TEC light riser, combined with their low-mounted shortstop 2.0 stabilizer, completely absorbs the kick, leaving absolutely zero vibration buzzing through your palm. Honestly, there is a distinct flaw you need to consider before making a decision. The deal breaker here is the sheer physical mass of the platform. Weighing almost 5 pounds before you even bolt on a sight, a rest, or a fully loaded quiver, This rig feels like carrying a cinder block if you are trekking deep into public land. It is an absolute chore to haul over steep, rugged terrain. If you do not mind carrying the extra bulk, expect the street price to run right around $1,499 to $1,599. Entering the throne room at number 1, the Elite Varos. This absolute masterpiece is undeniably the king of the timber for 2026. It gives you the blistering kinetic energy and surgical precision of number 3, but with a press-free tuning system that puts number 7 to shame. Tipping the scales at a hefty 4.75 pounds and stretching 32 inches axle to axle, it is not built for the ultralight crowd. But that physical mass acts as a critical stabilizer, fighting torque and soaking up every ounce of residual vibration when you send a heavy hunting shaft downrange at 338 feet per second. Under the hood, the undisputed crown jewel is their simplified exact tuning system combined with the brand new micro splitters. Instead of dealing with frustrating cam shims or requiring a full workbench, this rig allows you to micro-adjust the cam timing and the limb pivot angle right in the field. If your top cam is hitting slightly faster than your bottom cam, you just twist a single screw on the micro splitter to fix it in seconds. This ensures absolutely flawless arrow flight and unmatched mechanical consistency without ever putting the bow in a press. Drawing this rig back is an experience. The SP2 cam system builds weight quickly, but rolls over with total control. When you settle in, you are met with an absolute concrete back wall that locks you onto the target. The recoil is non-existent. It sits completely dead in the hand, making it incredibly forgiving, even if your form is not absolutely perfect, under the extreme pressure of a monster whitetail stepping into your lane. But let's be real, even the king has a flaw. The deal breaker here is the severe hump and dump at maximum let-off. If you push the let-off all the way to 90%, the transition into the valley is brutally sudden, which can easily throw your sight pin off target. You have to back it down to 80% to smooth out that transition. If you want the ultimate whitetail weapon, the street price runs right around $1,300 to $1,399. So there you have it. 7 flagship compound bows built to turn a whitetail encounter into a clean, ethical harvest. Not a lucky guess. Here is the truth nobody wants to admit. Raw speed stopped being the deciding factor years ago. Every one of these rigs sits in that 330 to 357 feet per second window, and the real battleground now is dynamic efficiency. How much of that stored energy actually makes it into the arrow instead of bleeding off as vibration and noise? That is exactly why press-free tuning systems like micro splitters, deadlock, and XTS matter more than another 5 feet per second on a chronograph screen. Pick your platform based on how you actually hunt. Tight tree stands and saddle setups, look at Mathews ARC or Bowtech Alliance. Long backcountry miles on your feet, Xpedition NexLite carries that weight advantage nobody else on this list can touch. Chasing pure accuracy and total mechanical control, Elite Varos takes that crown, and it is not close. Train hard, stay safe, and I will see you downrange.